viewers. So this week I'm sticking to the 90s. In fact, you're gonna have like probably 2 more weeks of the 90s in offense anyway. And I'm here with the running backs from the 90s. And you know how hard this was, because this is when the running backs was the true workhorses. And some of the shit you go see you might agree with. And some of the shit you see you definitely go disagree with. But you go agree with it nonetheless because we're talking about the running backs from the 90s. So let's go. So we're talking about the running backs from the 90s this time. So last week I did quarterbacks. This week I'm doing running backs. And I love running backs. So very, very close to my heart that position is. And I think the NFL today is is trying to devalue that position. They really are. But you can't, because you still need them, just like these guys that's on this list. So before anything, we must talk about them honorable mentions. So, as always, I always have four. So let's get to it. The first one, Mr. Eddie George. Eddie George, who won the Heisman in the 90s with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Um, he was drafted by the Houston Oilers, who turned to the Tennessee Oilers. Or was he drafted by the Tennessee Oilers? I think it was Tennessee Oilers by the time he got there. But nonetheless, made an immediate impact, showed his power. That picture you saw there was probably prime Eddie George. It took a true, you gotta be a true beast to take him down. It's not gonna be no one guy. Before beast mode, before Derrick Henry, they had that guy. Anybody that's crazy enough to tell Ray Lewis that he too small, something's wrong with you. But Eddie George did his thing. He did help the Titans. Him and Steve McNair, God rest his soul, took them to the title, to Super Bowl. Almost won that shit by a yard. But they just could not recapture the magic. But Eddie George to me was one of those backs in the 90s. Next guy, I wish he did. I wish his career was not cut short, because I think his numbers would have been up there top five, maybe number one, maybe number one. That'd be TD, Terrell Davis. I use this picture because that's how you knew Terrell Davis. You didn't. No one knew who the hell Terrell Davis was unless you was a Georgia Bulldog fan. And he came out of nowhere. He just made the team, and they was running short on running backs. And I guess I said last week, I say this week, John Elway needed a running game to get his 2 Super Bowls. I'm making sure I look at the camera when I say that. And Terrell Davis was a gift from God, a gift from the football guys with John Elway. And let's not mention this. Let's not forget about this. He's one of the running backs in the 2000 club. Yeah. This man won the Super Bowl MVP with a migraine headache. Scored 3 touchdowns in that game. You know that game I was talking about last week with John Elway beating Brett Favre? Yeah, he was the MVP of that game. Terrell Davis, I think, if I remember right, it went downhill. It was a jet game. And I think he broke his leg, actually. And he wasn't the same ever again. And it's sad that he's like the the second or third running back in the Hall of Fame for almost that same reason. Gale Sayers, I think it was one more person, and him. So Terrell Davis could have been something so special. Next, I will mention the bus. Huh? You know, my list gotta be good if I don't got the bus on my top five. But not saying, like I said, it's not like this was a hard list. Pause. But Jerome Bettis was with the Notre Dame. I'm talking about 90s here. With Notre Dame, when Notre Dame was always favored, highly favored. Um, got drafted by the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, back then I could say Los Angeles. It's still kind of weird saying it now because they moved back there. But Los Angeles Rams. He had a great rookie season. But something happened. I think once they moved to St. Louis, his production numbers went down, and they traded him. Unfortunately, you trade him to a team that loves to run, and that's the Steelers. Uh, Jerome Bettis breakout, pretty much you might as say introduction to the Steel Curtain was a Monday night game against Buffalo, and he ran roughshod, and he did not look back. Jerome Bettis is my running back of the 90s for the big guys. We had big guys before. We had the Earl Campbells. We had the Ironhead Haywoods. But Jerome Bettis was a different beast. No disrespect to Earl Campbell, but especially what he did to that poor linebacker. But Bus ran over people. People. Not person. People. Okay. My final honorable mention, this man right here. Curtis Martin. And started out with the Patriots in 95. But when he became a Jet, it just turned it was a whole new thing. He followed Coach Parcells. Coach Parcells said, you know what, I drafted you. I know what you could do. Let's see what you do. He almost, not once, I think twice, almost took the Jets to the Super Bowl. I know once because I was damn near all those practices. I know once they was this close, but some damn announcer, you know, you're supposed to not say this as a Jet or Giant fan. Say, oh, we think we'll win this shit, and you're only leading by 1 or 2 points with 3 minutes left. You don't say that. You keep quiet. But they said it, and the Broncos won. Very, very quiet bus ride uh, back to the hotel. Oh, not for me. I ain't go to Denver. But my cousin told me. But I'm just thinking to the 90s, Curtis Martin as a Jet was probably the best thing the Jets ever did around that time. Because the Jets was always contenders with Curtis Martin as their running back. I think he's the all-time leader in the franchise too. So now let's get to this top five. You know, I'm talking about 90s. I'm always starting with my favorite running back, my childhood favorite running back, and that is Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, damn it. Okay. I did a short on this because it was a barbershop conversation, and I respectfully disagree when they said that a certain another person that's on this list was the best running back from the 90s, and I said that's not fair. The best running back of the 90s is a running back that can make an average line at best, look good, and still lead the league in rushing. Barry Sanders did that at least 4 times, especially that season right there against the Cowboys. Monday Night Football. Never gonna forget it. 191 yards in Texas Stadium. Oh, his counterpart with Ham too. And not go front, but it was Barry Sanders' show that Monday night. Barry Sanders could go for 15 carries for 33 yards, and all of a sudden he'll have 150 yards because of one fucking carry. Barry Sanders was the man. Barry Sanders will always be the man in my eyes. as running back, and we haven't had no one close to him since. No disrespect, but the only person I think that's close to him, and now he played for the damn Eagles, is Saquon if he's healthy. If he's healthy, that's the closest thing we got to Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders was on another level. That's my. The next person is the person I was just talking about. The all-time leading rusher in NFL history, Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith was blessed, first of all, he played with the Gators, so he was blessed to be in the SEC, one of the toughest, if not the toughest conferences in college football, of all of college football. Yes, I am a Michigan Wolverine fan, and I love my Big Ten, but most of the NFL caliber came from the SEC, and Emmitt's one of them. Emmitt came in, told everybody that he's going for the all-time leading rushing, and damn it, he was not going to stop. One thing you got, this is why I say I always choose Barry over Emmitt, because Emmitt was also blessed to be running behind the Great Wall of Dallas. That line was out fucking stand. You had Eric Williams, Nate, fucking big ass Larry, somebody named Tuna. You see what I'm saying? Big 300 cheese sandwiches eating motherfuckers. And was Emmitt the fastest motherfucker? No. Was he one? I would do anything to get that extra yard. Yes. Was he hard to get down? Yes. I'm showing respect here. This is a very unbiased podcast or video right now. Emmitt was the man in the 90s. I'm not gonna take that from him. And especially, I'm gonna talk about the game that I still talk about this to this day when it comes to Emmitt Smith. 1993, last game of the season, winner wins the division and home field advantage. Giants against Cowboys. This man damn near dislocated his shoulder, and he played on one shoulder that whole game. And Cowboys escaped with a 13-10 victory, one home field advantage, and the division. Giants got the wild card. Rest is history. Emmitt Smith is a 3-time Super Bowl winner. He's also a Super Bowl MVP. He's also a former MVP. He's a multi-time rushing leader. What else can I say? Oh, that's right. Hall of Famer. And most of his damage happened in the 90s. Next running back is the true definition of all-purpose yards. If y'all like Christian McCaffrey, well, damn it, you gonna like this man. Thurman Thomas, who went to the great state of Oklahoma State. Watch this. He started over Barry. He started over Barry. Why Oklahoma State never won a national championship? I don't understand it. Anyway, but Thurman Thomas came in late 80s, but in the 90s is where you found out who Thurman Thomas was. Thurman Thomas led the league in all-purpose yards, that's receiving yards and rushing, for 5, maybe 6 seasons. He was the important piece of the Buffalo Bills K-gun no huddle offense. He had options, like, where running backs go for a pass. He knew he was an optional, and he elevated. I know, especially football historian fans. I know y'all. The only reason y'all make fun of him because he lost his helmet in the Super Bowl, and y'all think, oh, that's the reason why he lost to Washington. No, Washington was that damn good, but Thurman Thomas was that damn good. Thurman Thomas shattered Kansas City Chiefs in a conference championship. He destroyed the Raiders one playoff game. He damn near almost became Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 25 if they would have won the game. Because Thurman Thomas The Giants knew how to stop the K gun, but they didn't know how to stop Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas was that dude, man. Any Buffalo fan can tell you, but any football fan, if they real with themselves, would tell you Thurman Thomas was what we see today when it comes to running backs. If you want to value running backs today, you think Thurman Thomas. Or you could thank this man. My next one, number 4, Ricky Waters. Come on. Now take that Philly game against the Bucks out your head right now. Right now. And take what he said in the press conference after that Philly Bucks game. He earned Philadelphia Eagles fan base respect the rest of that season. They didn't like him that first game because he shouldn't have said what he said, and he should have went for that ball. But he earned their respect the rest of that season, the rest of the time he was there. But he did his damage here first, 49ers, where he got his Super Bowl ring. But he left the very next season after they won the Super Bowl. And I never understood why. I don't know if it was a free agent. Still to this day, I don't know. But Ricky Waters, he also got a playoff record, running back, 5 rushing touchdowns in the playoff game. Too bad he did that against us. Yeah, I don't remember that. I definitely remember that, Ricky. But he played for 3 different teams in 1 decade. And he produced in all 3 of them. I showed you the Eagles, I showed you the 49ers, and yes, he played for the Seahawks. And took the Seahawks to the playoffs. And the old good what was their arena name? The Kingdom. Yeah. The Kingdom. So you know how noisy it is in Seattle? Just imagine having a dome over that. Yeah. But Ricky Waters is one of my top 5. And last but not least, when I say all-purpose yards, I know I gave Thurman his flowers. I know I gave Ricky his flowers for especially not just being a running back with all-purpose yards in receiving, because Ricky was a bad boy in receiving. But when someone elevates that and becomes the second guy to go for 1,000 in rushing and 1,000 in receiving, I only talk about Marshall Faulk. Yes, Marshall Faulk in a coach uniform. Yes, he got drafted. This man, I found out about Marshall Faulk when he was with San Diego State. They was playing a bowl game, I think the Holiday Bowl. And he was also in the Heisman hopeful one time. But that's a whole different story. Marshall Faulk changed the fortunes of the Colts. Hell, he made Jim Harbaugh look good. The Colts almost went to the Super Bowl. Yes. Marshall Faulk was hurt, but they almost went to the Super Bowl. Just imagine a healthy Marshall Faulk in that Steelers game, people. We ain't talking about no damn almost Hail Mary. We're probably talking about a close contested game than that. But they traded Marshall. He was not a free agent. They traded him, and he went to the Rams, and he was healthy. I know the coach looking at it, they said like, damn. But he went to the Rams first year with a new quarterback named Kurt Warner, and went to Super Bowl, and he got a Super Bowl ring. And the rest is history. Like, Marshall Faulk is that guy. And those are my running backs of the 90s. Again, as I always say, is there anybody that I named in your top 5? Do you have a whole different top 5? Or, hell, do you agree with my top 5? Put in the comments. As I always say, especially my YouTube, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Self-Made Podcast. Again, I will see you next week for top 5. Thursdays, I don't know. I'm sticking with the 90s for the next 2 weeks, so I might go with wide receivers. Until then, bye-bye.